I'm having quite a lot of difficulty going through this particular part of the series, and the reason will hopefully be made partially clear in this video. It has to do with the idea, I suppose, of role reversal and how it affected my perceptions of a family, what each person's responsibilities within it are. I wouldn't say that it's completely defined the way I view families, but at the same time it certainly had some influence. So the idea behind role reversal is that if certain parents want to be treated like children, maybe because they weren't treated like children when they were children, or because they still want to be treated like children even after they've grown up, for various egotistical reasons, they will try to persuade their own children to be their parents in a sense, uh, even to the detriment of the children themselves, if the person who has this expectation of their children has some personality disorder. And I have to say that in both my father's case and my mother's case, there have been some efforts towards role reversal, but only my mother actually managed to generate this reversal in a sense, and that was because her feelings on the matter were genuine, as in she really wasn't faking being a little kid for the sake of getting attention, being appreciated, admired, what have you. It was more a case that she, how should I say this, it was embedded in her spirit. Essentially, and this is not complicated for me to say, but probably going to be confusing. My mother really acted as though, or certainly expressed herself as though, I would only be her child provided that I did a good enough job of being her parent, and I was only allowed to be her child when it suited her, in a sense. As in, say that my mother enjoyed certain things, let's say taking care of children in different ways, as in making food for them, of laying out their clothes. She needed me to act the part of a child in that sense. But when it came to her actually having to fight against my father, for example, she wouldn't do that for me, obviously. So, likewise, when it came for her to do certain things, to, how should I say this? If I needed encouragement or support in certain aspects of my life, she would only provide it if it, I guess, suited her, if she enjoyed it a lot. I'm struggling to express this here, but essentially, as I said, if my mother wanted to be little and babied by someone else, I would have to step in and provide for her in that sense, and make absolutely sure that her feelings were never hurt. For example, even when I was 3 years old, my mother took me to see a film. It was a cartoon with a little penguin, and she asked me at the end of it if I enjoyed it. I actually hadn't enjoyed it, so I just told her no. At which point she started crying very intensely and acting as though I had really hurt her. And I'm pretty sure I had hurt her by the fact that I didn't enjoy the film that she wanted me to enjoy. But in all honesty, although I do believe that a child should, how should I say this, respect a parent's desire to provide for them, that desire should not eclipse actually providing for them. As in, if, for example, that film, if I didn't enjoy it, then it would have only been fair for me to talk about my mother and for us to sort out what kind of film I would enjoy, and if at the end of a film I claim to enjoy, I state that they didn't enjoy it, it would all fall on me too. How should I say this? The responsibility of having pointlessly watched that film would have fallen on me, and I would have been perfectly happy to, well, I'm not sure if I would have been at that age been perfectly happy to accept that, but later on I certainly would have recognized that I shouldn't have said I liked something if I didn't actually like it. Anyway, so it was a case, this was one example like many, in which my mother's need to feel as though she provided for her child eclipsed the child's actual need to be provided for, so that if there was any situation in which she couldn't provide for me, I had to really not expect anything from her, otherwise it would make her absolutely crestfallen. It would make her very sad. And I remember this instance in which, when I was around 9 years old, probably that, no, between 8 and 10 years old, my mother was walking me to school, and she stopped by this little shop, and she told me that I should ask for, I think, some chips or a pretzel from the shop. And but let me rephrase that. Basically, she would told me that she was going to go into the shop and ask me what I want, and I would have to say that I wanted some pretzels. I have to shake my head as I say this. I never talked about this to anyone, I think, and I would have to say I wanted some pretzels or I wanted some chips. I don't remember exactly what, but she really wanted me to say I wanted something, because we were poor at that time, and she, how should I say this, wanted to save face in front of everyone else. This was a major obsession of hers, to keep up appearances. So I went in, and I honestly had completely forgotten what it is she had requested of me. And when she asked me what I wanted, I just told her what I wanted straight off. I wanted a croissant, so I pretty much told her. And this wasn't because I was spoiled in any way, because I wanted to, how should I say this, press her hand or anything. I'm not sure what the right expression for this is, but I just pretty much was asked what I liked in that shop, and I told her honestly what I liked. And I'm very honest about things in general, even when I lose quite a lot from it, in pragmatic terms. But that's for moral reasons. And my mother did. I told her I wanted a croissant, and my mother bought a croissant for me instead of actually buying pretzels, or what she wanted to buy me. And then after she left, she was really upset with me for not having answered the way she wanted me to answer. That's just one of many examples. Even the fact that, for example, I don't like giving flowers to people, because they basically, once you collect a flower, once you harvest it, you kill it, and then you're basically offering dead things to a person as a show of appreciation. These flowers are going to wilt within a matter of days, possibly weeks. That does not actually symbolize eternal love. It certainly isn't a very kind gesture, because you're killing some plants. So from a very young age, from when I was in grade school, I didn't want to give people flowers, and my mother insisted that I give people flowers and not complain about it at all, as in not tell them about the fact that flowers are, well, once you've harvested them, are dead things, and it's a silly gesture. And of course I spoke my mind to people, because that's in my nature, and I'm really proud of it in a sense, uh, which made her quite uncomfortable. But it's just one of many examples of how she tried to how should I say this, shape me a prop into a prop that could help her keep up appearances, even if her own life at its core was absolutely hideous because of what she was experiencing in her family and beyond that. The idea behind role reversal, to expand on this further, was again that basically I had to always strive to get her to accept me as a son, and in order to do that I had to be the perfect father figure for her, and the kind of father figure, however, that would always allow her to walk off and do her own thing and have all the authority in a sense. It was a case that my mother wanted all the authority over me with none of the responsibility of either being a parent, as in she could be a parent optionally when she enjoyed it, and while imposing responsibility on me towards her. It was a very bizarre thing. At the same time, I saw that my mother really babied my father a lot, even though he treated her absolutely horribly. And it caused me so much distress because I thought, no, I'm a decent person, I can care about her, and she cares about the kind of person who really doesn't care about her at all. It was completely messed up. Nevertheless, she held to it. And I, how should I say this? I could also see that this very topic, it seems to be causing me sort of allergy. I could also see that my mother was completely loving my father, was a complete scumbag and didn't care about her at all. And at the same time, she would happily take his side when he wanted to act against me, either take his side, or in some occasions she would, how should I say this, try to placate him, as opposed to actually taking a stance against him, which I don't think she ever did, except when it came to money issues, when she wanted him to make more money. And I took that attitude on board with me, I suppose, and this sort of role reversal was applied, as in, basically, I felt that I have to say, one of the things about role reversal is you're never satisfied in terms of, as in, as a child, as a baby, you don't actually receive the kind of unconditional and complete love that an ordinary child receives, and because of that, you look for attachment figures outside of your family a lot, and you can end up clinging to your professors in school, for example. Um, you can fall in love with a woman very deeply and want to bond completely with her. And what happened to me in these situations was, first of all, I was dealing with women, and I have to say this, I'm perfectly have to say it on camera, women are absolutely nothing near the moral value of men, and for a woman the idea of love is simply something that she gets out of it, whereas for a man it's something that he gives. That's certainly what I've encountered in my experiences. It's what I find whenever I talk to people, to men, and it's what women always angrily deny whenever it's pointed out to them without providing any sort of evidence to the contrary. So yeah, the point is, because of the fact that I needed a maternal attachment figure and I sought it, um, I was absolutely miserable for a great part of my life. And I really still am. I'm extremely hurt by the fact that I don't really have any attachment figures, period, in spite of the fact that I would be perfectly happy to, do everything that was morally right for a person in order to earn, I guess, the right to receive that person's attachment. Um, I digress. So the idea behind my seeking attachment was essentially, having had this template in my mind, I always believed that, how should I say this? That first of all, that when a woman is attracted to a man who is evil, then if she is not, how should I say this, overtly, obviously evil herself, then she should be rescued from that situation, which I would say is completely false. If a woman is attracted to an evil man, it's in the vast majority of cases because she herself is evil, because she doesn't care about her morals in general. She just, how should I say this, finds the man attractive for being, I don't know, um, intimidating or domineering, or just because she's hypergamous, pretty much. And to gather my thoughts here, uh, basically I took on the attitude that in order to win a woman's maternal love, if she was not, how should I say this, either maternal figure, for example, a woman 20 years my age who would have, how should I say this, it's difficult to explain this. But essentially, there are two forms of attachments that I could form, that I found I needed to form. One of them being with pretty much any parent figure, and the other one being with, I guess, a lover, lifelong romantic partner. Um, and the interesting thing was that because of all this, I guess, role reversal that occurred, and this blending of roles, if I could call it that, within my family, I felt that, okay, my mother was actually behaving maternally towards my father, and so if I could actually be the best possible man for a woman, um, then surely she would accept me as a mother figure in a sense and just love me maternally. And I would also have to, how should I say this, just as I would have had to love my mother as a sort of parent figure. And I think my mother sought parent figures pretty much everywhere, including my father. Yeah, I would have just have had to be the perfect man, the perfect lover, the perfect, as in the perfect husband, the perfect father as well. And at the same time, she would she wouldn't be required to provide that maternal love to me. It would only be dependent on the fact that I had really behaved flawlessly in terms of the roles that were expected of me. And naturally, I did end up in some really horrible situations in which I did cultivate a lot of qualities. And I have to say this. I wouldn't say it was because I needed a parent figure. That was part of it, but it wasn't necessary in that I just. This is painful to talk about, but in the last several months, for example, even knowing that it was extremely unlikely, in fact impossible, I would say, for me to obtain the kind of mother figure I want, the kind of mother figure I want, just a decent, genuine mother figure, and to receive the love of a good woman, just realizing that the character of women in general, I just even in that situation, I continued being helpful towards people, and I continue being helpful towards people now, after all. But the very idea that you could that you needed someone's maternal love, and you were perfectly happy to do anything that was required in order to do anything honorable and moral that was required to obtain it, to not obtain it so much as to earn it, to, how should I say this, to make it um, agreeable, enjoyable, I suppose, for the other person to provide it. If you did all these things and still you saw that every woman around you treated you with contempt, well, you would get pretty angry at them, because naturally all of them had real parent figures. A lot of them surely have lovers, because they're women, and they're very good at extorting, I guess, romance from men. And the idea that all these women would just look down on me because of the fact that I actually needed something from them, as opposed to always providing them, and they would try their best to avoid me and how should I say, ignore me as soon as I actually talked about what really hurt me, the fact that I didn't have any attachment figures, and I would have really liked one of them be an attachment figure for me. After all the things I had done for all of them, after having demonstrated them that I'm a good person, and that really it would have been an act of good, an act of kindness for them to actually take on that role, I was just devastated, I suppose, when they oh, this is really painful for me, when they all pretty much show that no, they didn't want to provide me with an attachment figure, and I would have to, be emotionally starved and suffer incredible anguish all my life. This is getting into a very long video. I have digressed. I haven't covered a lot of what I wanted about the idea of role reversal, but essentially I'll address this in the next video. The key point to emphasize here is that, first of all, role reversal is about the parent expecting the child to behave as a parent, while their own parental, I guess, obligations can be waived whenever it is convenient for them. And I've also briefly talked about how difficult it is, how difficult it was for me at least, and has been for me, to find an attachment figure, at least a female one, in the wake of a mother's callous role reversal. So thanks for watching, and see you in part 2.